Hello, this is Dean Phoenix, continuing my No Armour playthrough on Deathmarch on The Witcher 3. And I see here that we are just continuing on Deathmarch, and we were doing Count Reuben's treasure quest, where we do it for Dijkstra. Need to meet up with Triss, and so doing the Triss, Dijkstra and Dandelion quest lines. Now I've been giving some other thought to what I want to do to try and keep this playthrough interesting, and it has been a lot of fun so far. And I think one of the things that I'll try and do is maybe get mutations early, because I did that at level 20 on a normal playthrough, which was difficult enough. But as somebody commented on one of those videos, the other way that I thought about doing that was to try and do it with deadly precision. The way I actually did it before was with the alchemy skills, Griffin School techniques, and the enhanced Griffin armor. And I used high stamina regen to keep my Quen up and dodge around the first two guardians where you have to fight the cats, because those are the main difficulty when you're trying to get through that mission at a lower level, because you have to fight the spectral cats at a very high level, because it's a level 35 quest. So one of the things I'm thinking about doing this time is I'll try and use a different sort of method of doing it with deadly precision, and deadly precision can be triggered by bombs and crossbow bolts as well, as one of the loading screen things tells you. So there's a few ways that we can go about that, and that'll be a pretty interesting challenge to try, I think. So I'm just going to run to where I need to meet Cleaver's Dwarves and do some of these quests first. There's a few side quests I need to do as well. I also could do with selling some stuff, so let's have a look here. I might just meditate until we're at the point where I can sell these things. Normally you would sell most things like clubs and axes and non-sword weapons, and any gear you would sell to the armourers instead of the blacksmith, and then swords you would sell to the blacksmith, because you get ever so slightly more money. But I don't really need a lot with that in the first place, so it's not really a big deal. I'm pretty flush with money, especially because I'm not having to buy armor as well. So just going to keep the things that you can sell that can be dismantled into dimeritium and stuff like that, because I can use those for making the higher level swords later. But everything else I'm just going to sell to this guy. So sell some of these again, because we're on a no armor playthrough. Whenever I want, I can always sell a couple of these glyphs, because I'm only going to be using those for enchantments later on, and I won't be enchanting any armor if I'm not wearing any, so that's no problem at all. And then same again, we've got the Novigrad longsword there. Doesn't dismantle into anything good, so I'll just sell that as well. So selling a few things there, get rid of those. I might just go and dump some of those trophies as well. So just check that we don't need to repair anything while we're here. A little bit of things for repair. And that makes no difference really. The damage from the swords isn't really that significant. But I just don't like having the graphic that comes up when you have your weapons in disrepair. So, yeah. Just come up with low controller batteries. So, at some point I'm going to have to just go and replace those. That'll be a quick break while I do that. Let me have a look. And this guy is the merchant who sells alcohol, so you can buy things like cherry cordial and mandrake cordial and stuff like that. The cherry cordial is one of the things you need for making white gull, which is the alcohol that you need to make the high level crafting ingredients. Now my main thing with this guy is that he's a very good person to sell stuff like alchemy paste and alchemy powders to, because you only need a certain amount of those, so I keep harping on about it, but this guy's a good guy to sell those to. He gives good decent prices for pretty much all crafting stuff, so you can see here I have plenty of Dwarven Spirit already, because it always uses Alkahest first, and even though I've been meditating pretty consistently, we've still got a ton of those. So you could sell a bunch of the excess Dwarven Spirit, I've got tons of those, and that's mainly from looting, as I've been doing through the playthrough. So lots of little ways to make a good chunk of money like that, so always useful. Same this guy here, the Alchemist, you can sell things to him as well. So just going to go and find Cleaver's Dwarves outside the arena, and then I will probably be using my skill switching. Now there's often some thugs around this bit, and I don't have my decoctions up at the minute, so just being a bit careful running through there, because that would be very tricky if that was the case. Now I believe this is the house that Triss is at. And my next quest with Triss is the Dijkstra one, where I would be meeting her at midnight and going through Menges and all that kind of stuff. So let's have a look. Let's go. We've got to go through all this. But Triss is up here, and the reason I'm doing this is just there's the nobleman statuette and stuff like this. So there's like little side quests that you can do with her as well. And this doesn't take very long, so I might as well just get the extra quest while I can and grab that extra bit of experience. So let's have a look. I'm just going to go through this. So just while they're talking, I'm just going to go and grab the other batteries, and I'll check that everything's coming through okay.
Someone got themselves enchanted in this figurine.
Intend to decompress?
Of course. Whoever cast the spell on the poor soul must have forgotten about him.
Looks like a noble.
Could be just that.
Okay, apologies for the brief pause there, and we are back. So, just going to carry on with this and do this very short little quest. There is another statuette that you get, but unless you have Triss available to speak to like this, well, you've already got that second statuette. Then you'll have to wait until later when you come back to Novigrad. So it depends on what order you do the quest in. If you do enough of the quest to have Zoltan back if you do enough of the quest that you have Zoltan back,
We're in Novigrad.
then the main difference. Sorry, just checking the sound coming through. Hold on. Yeah, you have to have Zoltan back at the Rosemary in Time, or the Chameleon, and then be able to speak to him, do the Gwent quest, Dangerous Game, and as part of that you pick up the other statue as well. And then that gives you another little quest like this. But even if you don't do that on your first time through Novigrad, so if you do the quests in the order, that means that you do Dangerous Game after Triss is no longer available to talk to, like you've done enough to progress to Now or Never, where you can no longer do these quick little quests. And it's not a problem, because you can just do them on, you come back to Novigrad, although you'll be way over the required levels for those quests. They don't give a ton anyway, so if you just want the items or to have the quest completed in your quest log, then you can do that as well. So just loot a few things here. You'll come back to this place in a little bit actually. I believe this is the house where the actors are that end up promoting it with you. So now, just before I start the quest, because I'm going to be getting into a bit of a combat now, I'm just going to use my decoctions, potions, everything else. And this will be all fighting against human enemies, so make sure we've got the Hangman Venom there. So far I've been going with the Ancient Lesson decoction and the Echidna decoction. I have been using the Foglet decoction as well, just for a little bit extra sign intensity, because it's always active in Velen, and I can use skill switching to take out acquired tolerance after I've done that, and be able to use that instead. So that's kind of useful. Just get Gourmet going again. Use any of the 80 vitality regeneration foodstuffs, because that's very convenient as well. And as you can see there, I'm not taking any damage, and you can tell that if you were to look at the stats as well, because vitality is actually max. If you are getting overhealed, like I wouldn't really be taking any toxicity damage at the minute anyway, because Gourmet would be healing me for that 81 per second, but you can see there I'm at actual max vitality, even though my toxicity is over 100. So that proves that you're not taking any toxicity damage, because even if you are taking toxicity damage and it's being overhealed, in the inventory screen it will still show you as being 1 or 2 points shy of your maximum vitality. And it's that reason that things that require full health no longer work, if that's the case. The reason for that being that Wartag decoction and stuff like that, you're still technically taking damage, so you're still never at actual full damage, which is, you know, kind of interesting. Where are we going now? Oh, I've gone the wrong objective there, so I just need to follow the dwarves around. See where they've gone. Now you can do this without. You can do these quite easily without the. They take out a lot of people, so it's pretty useful for that. So these quests aren't that bad to do. This is actually quite an interesting. This is actually quite an interesting quest to do without the dwarves, because you can play some extra Gwent matches. But I just want this to go a little bit quicker, so I don't feel like having a Gwent episode today. So I'll just go with this. So you see, you get really good stagger from Ard Sweep again. Like I've been saying, it's one of my favourite tactics. And every time I use it, it builds up the stamina regeneration for the rest of the fight. And with the Echidna decoction, it also gives me health back, and then Gourmet catches up the rest of the healing as well. And sometimes with the Foglet decoction and that slightly higher sign intensity, you even have enough sign intensity to be able to knock them straight down for an instant kill with Ard. So I love Ard Sweep for that, especially because it only uses half of your... Oh, so he hit me through the guard there because he had an axe, which I didn't realise. But yeah, anyway, I love using Ard Sweep for that because it only takes half of your stamina bar as well. And so it just sort of is extremely effective for getting that stamina regeneration, and it makes fights go really well. So, very interesting. Just going to pick up all the stuff here. Looting things as normal, and this is what I mean about the alchemy paste and stuff. You get a ton more alchemy paste than you ever actually need, unless you're going to be crafting a lot of master repair kits. And you know, even on a regular playthrough, I would never do that, because you always find enough of the amateur ones and the journeyman's ones, and the journeyman's ones are the best ones in my opinion, because they do 40% of the time, and then you can just top up any repair you need with the amateur ones, and you find a ton of those, like I was saying. So it's not really necessary to ever make a repair kit. I don't think I've ever made one, and I still end up with absolutely loads more than I need. And they're also very heavy, so you don't want to be like just relying on that, because it takes up a lot of your inventory space, and that stops you from being able to use a bunch of other stuff there as well. So I tried to parry there, but I wasn't facing properly, so it didn't let me. Not going to bother putting my oil back on just yet, because this guy's just one-on-one. It'd be pretty easy to take him out. Regular axe works very well with the Ancient Lesson decoction as well. Get a good few hits in there, and every time you use it again, it's just going to raise your stamina regeneration, so very useful. So we got all that there, and that's absolutely fine. Loot all this stuff, and then I believe we find this guy.
Hey, can you hear me?
And this will again progress this mission a little bit, and also get you a little bit of extra experience points if you let him go free. So that's useful, because you can speak to the King of Beggars afterwards and get that little bit of extra experience. So another little useful thing to do there, so just going to go for that. On we go. Right, so just going to go through all this stuff. Find all that. Yeah, and on we go. Alright, off we go.
Wonder if Dijkstra knows Junior's made a deal with the Redanians.
I wonder if he does. Let's find out. So what's going to be the closest thing here? Wonder where that is. Wonder if that's outside, that thing to pick up. That must be higher up. That's alright, I can live without that. Okay. Not gonna have a full Gwent episode, but I can just play these two guys as well. So, in fact, I think I'm gonna just take a break from Gwent at the minute. I'll come back a little bit later and do some of that later. I love playing Gwent, so it's always good to have a few people left to play. I'll just progress things a little bit at the minute. So I'll just put a marker there so I remember that they're there. Come and play those later, because you can play both of these guys. So where do I need to be going for the rest of the quest. So we've got the arena to do for that. We've got Dijkstra to speak to as well. And he's marginally closer. So is the arena. So I'll speak to Dijkstra first. No, I'll speak to Dijkstra after I've beaten Marquis Serenity and Gwent. I think I'll do that first. Even after I've just said about not playing Gwent, because that'll just mean that I can make sure I don't miss playing Dijkstra before we progress the quests. I don't want to miss doing that, so let's go to the Passiflora first. Just going to play Marquis Serenity, and I'm not that fussed about the card you get from her. I can't even remember what you get from her. It might be one of the Nilfgaard hero cards. But the main one that you do want to get, and that I really do like, is the Ciri card. And you need to have played Dijkstra and Marquis Serenity to be able to play the Gwent guy in the end of that quest for Gwent, which is the Elven Scoia'tael merchant. Always make sure that you grab the Mandrake root whenever you come back past the Passiflora here. They will respawn over time. There's 4 there to pick up, and that's one of the ones that otherwise is not particularly common when you're looking for it, so always worth grabbing. Unlike all this crap here, which was absolute nonsense apart from that glowing ore. But at least we've got a bear fat there as well, so that can be used. Can I get what's behind there? Ah, thread. Pointless. Never mind. So yeah, just grab all this stuff and then I'll head into the Passiflora. Play Marquis Serenity, and then I'll play Dijkstra and I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and speak to him as well. So on we go, blah blah blah. She sometimes has some cards to sell, but I think I got most of them from the casting merchant first, who's the Hearts of Stone guy, who has some duplicate cards like this. So let's see what she's got. Yeah, so she normally has cards to sell, like the second catapult, but she doesn't here, because I've already got them from the Hearts of Stone caster merchant, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's go. Using the Nilfgaard deck just to mix it up a bit. It's not as strong as the Northern Realms deck until you get all of the cards, but still should be plenty strong enough to win with. Still got some of the weaker cards in it at the moment. I don't have the Relentless Leader ability yet, but you still do pretty well most of the time. She's playing Nilfgaard herself, so she might be playing some spies. And she might decoy any back, so we'll have a look. Now normally the AI plays spies pretty early, so if she had an 8 or if she had decoy, she'd probably have taken those already. So I'll just go with the assumption that she doesn't just yet. So I'll play some cards, and there you go, they do normally play it pretty early like that, so I'll be able to take that back. I do have Villain Tretemeth, so I could either decoy this back and then play it and then scorch both of those 2 cards, which I may do, and see what I get from those 2 draws. Or I could play it from the decoy to play Villain Tretemeth twice, but I'll go with this for now. And that wins me the game by getting rid of both of those. Now Nilfgaard obviously has a ton of medics, so I'll just see if they medic back one of those spies, because then I can pass to go to round 2 and be able to play it back with one of these. So let's see what they've got. If they don't medic any of them back, then I'll be perfectly safe to just play a few cards like this. I do have the card advantage at the minute, bleed them out of cards, and then that'll be no problem. Doesn't look like they do. And they're not playing a Biting Frost in a minute or anything like that, so I'll play one more card just so I can see what their last 3 cards are and see if they have got a medic, which is a useful little leader ability, and then I'll see if I need to win this round or if I just bleed them out of cards and win the last one. So they've got a 10, a Scorch, and a Fog. So they can't play the they can't play they can't play the Scorch. They've got a 10, a Scorch, and a Fog. So they can't play the Scorch because they'd scorch their own 12 card there. And the Fog's just going to be detrimental to their own because I'm not going to be playing anything apart from this 1 strength anyway. So, and even after I play this, they still can't play it because they've got an 8 strength, so they still can't play the Scorch card because it'd be detrimental to them, not to me. And she's just screwed herself over there with that one, so not a problem at all. And win that pretty easily. Don't even have to use the cow card or anything like that, so easy win. And that's how you win with the Nilfgaard deck a lot of the time. You can bleed them out of cards, use the interesting tactics it's got. So it's a little different than playing the Northern Realms deck, and I do quite like it for that. So quite interesting. You can do high stakes here as well, but I don't know if they'd actually accept my deck for that, because you have to have a couple of you have to have a strong enough deck with a certain amount of heroes and stuff like that, I believe. I'm not sure what the actual criteria is, because I usually do high stakes really late on, or at or around its recommended level. So you know, it's not a problem. So we're just going to speak to Dijkstra and do this. The thing about high stakes is, as long as your deck is strong enough for them to let you enter it, then you could enter it and save first, and then try and play the Halfling. And the first two games are probably the hardest two games, because Nilfgaard and the Northern Realms are the best decks. And so those two matches can be really difficult to win. The Halfling's really difficult. He's got an excellent Northern Realms deck, and Sasha is probably one of the hardest opponents, if not the hardest Gwent opponent in the game, because she has a properly optimized Nilfgaard deck, and she just always seems to get the cards and the spies and everything else to be able to outlast you and cause some real damage. So quite difficult for that. But in theory, you could save it first and beat those two opponents, and probably the elf as well, before you get to the fist fight versus the elf. And the only problem is if you lost the fist fight versus the elf, you don't get to play in the final against the host and his monsters deck, which means that you would fail collect them all, because you wouldn't be able to win the last monster leader from him. But if you weren't bothered about doing collect them all in a particular playthrough, then you could easily do that and get relentless quite early by getting a good enough deck, saving before you start high stakes, and making sure you win those two. Two first games, so you get the leaders for the relentless from beating Sasha, and the Scorched Siege leader from the Halfling for the Northern Realms deck. So that's quite interesting. I think I'm going to do that on my next playthrough after this one. I'm planning on doing like a Viper build playthrough, because I love that Viper build of mine, but I've not been able to play it properly yet. So okay, so let's have a look at what this Northern Realms deck has for me. So he's got Mysterious Elf, which is a shame, because you can't get that yet unless you go and do a Red Skull quest, so it's going to be quite difficult. And like I say, the Nilfgaard deck that I've got isn't fully optimized at the minute, so I'll win that one, and then just try and bleed him out of some cards, and see what we've got left after that. Now, there's again a ton of different tactics you can use. Like here, I can use the cow again, so that I can have that become an 8 strength card afterwards, and then decoy the medic back, so that I can play another strong card in the third round as well. So I'll see what happens, and I'll try and bleed him out of cards here. And he does have the medic, which is useful because he'll play the spy back now, and I can decoy that. And that's especially useful with the Bite and Frost at the minute. Let's see what I get from these. I get another spy, which is brilliant. Let's see what I get from the other spy now. Okay, so he's going to be... I'm going to be up 7 cards to 5. But I'll be able to medic back these two, which will be useful. And I'll still start the next round with 8 strength as well. So we might be alright here. Especially because I'll be able to... guard against these cards being knocked out by Villain Tretameth. So So I'll use these first. And then I'll be able to see what cards he's got left. And make my choices from there. So he's got a Scorch. Scorch and a 6. And a Fog. I love that leader ability because even though it's not always useful, it's situationally sometimes quite useful. So he can't use the Scorch. So he's going to have to play the Fog here. So if I avoid playing any higher strength cards just now, then that means I should win pretty comfortably. So these will be 1 strength each, so it doesn't really matter about playing those, and these will be 2 strength each because I'll end up putting the Commander's Horn on there. So let's go with Vesemir because we love Vesemir. So now he can't play the Scorch because it Scorch his own 8 strength, and even though he did that there, that's just going to make no difference for him. And at the minute the top strength cards are all 6, so I don't want to play that Scorch because it would be detrimental to myself. Not that it will really make much of a difference, but we can just play that. And there we go. Oh yeah, I was saying about those being 2 strength, but actually it wasn't a Biting Frost that he had, it was a Scorch, so ignore me. Mental miscalculation, but a very easy win there as well. So again, that's a really fun, even though you don't have the complete Nilfgaard deck, it can be really good to do that. So, and you get Esterad from him, which is useful if you're using the Northern Realms one. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so off we go. Blah blah blah. So we've got Roach available now as well. And we'll talk to him to get that quest line started at some point. I'll do that before I travel to Oxenfurt to find the that part of the quest. But first things first, we're just going to carry on, finish this bit in Novigrad, and complete a few of the other little Novigrad parts here. So you can do the arena and the bits like that different ways by not going with Cleaver's little minions, and you don't really lose a lot of experience because for some reason that get Cleaver, the Cleaver part of these quests are really low level, so you don't really get additional experience from doing that. You just get a little bit of an extra reward from Cleaver, so it doesn't really make a massive difference if I'm honest. Let's nip through here. Is there a way through here? No, there is not. Where are we going? Through here apparently. But if you want to, you can meet the dwarves and just do it with combat. I believe it does take a little less time as well. So I'll just do that. These guys are running away. So this is how you would do it normally. You can pick up this stuff here and then go from there. And you can pretend to be this guy. But I'm not really going to do that right now. Instead, I'm just going to do it with the dwarves and do the combat because that's easy enough anyway. So you can do it either way. It is quite interesting, worth checking out if you have never done it that way. It's interesting to do the quest both ways, but it doesn't really make a massive difference, so I'm just going to do it this way for now. Horse hides, reasonably valuable, so always good to pick those up, and then we can sell those after. So we're going to talk to the dwarves, just do this by combat. I mean, like I say, even on deathmatch it sort of balances out because your enemies can do so much damage. They seem to do a ton of damage to the people as well. So if you're struggling with this quest, then doing it with the dwarves can actually be pretty useful. I'm going to face a lot of human enemies in here, so just going to get some Hangman's Venom back on there in preparation for taking all these guys out. Try and get a burning if at all possible. And as you can see, they do a ton of damage there, so. And that's where the it comes in extremely useful having the Foglit decoction early on, because that 20%, 25% sound intensity does mean that you have a higher chance of burning things. And when they're burning, they can't attack you, especially human enemies and stuff like drowners, humanoid enemies. They won't be attacking you because the fire damage stops them from moving. And as you can see, the dwarves do like a ton of damage to people, so really useful for that. And I've always got Quen there as well. This is why it's useful to do it with the dwarves, I find. Again, if we just start off with the Ancient Lesson decoction, we can get a bit of extra stamina regen. I have got the arrow deflection skill, although I'm not sure if I've actually got it equipped at the minute. So I'll just take these guys out first. And the dwarves have taken everybody else out, so yeah, it is particularly useful doing it this way. And just gonna need to get that guard dog sorted as well. So just be careful with these guys. And whilst they're all burning, I'll actually just get the Dragon's Dream in there as well. Where's Dragon's Dream? I think it's this top left one. So we'll get Dragon's Dream. And also the Puffball. Just get those in there. And get Puffball in there as well. And just get a load of damage on them that way. So bombs are really useful when you've got big groups of enemies. Really good for that. Get everybody burning. Gradually get my stamina regeneration up, and they're taking all of that damage as well. And if I wanted, I could actually just get the broadhead bolts in there too, and get them bleeding, take even more damage from that. And the Dragon's Dream still active, get them all burning, do a ton of damage, hit that shield guy. And then just go back to getting that extra bit of stamina regeneration with hard sweep, getting those hits in and killing them pretty easily. And that'll let me get Quen up and take them all out. So if you have large groups of people like that, backing off and using your things like bombs is very effective. And there are tons of tactics you can actually use. So when people say in The Witcher 3 about the combat not being that good, a lot of the time it's often that they're just doing nothing except dodging and not making proper use of the combat and everything like that. So there are lots of options available to you. You've got alchemy and how you use all that kind of stuff. So I definitely don't agree that the combat is no good. So do all this stuff, find everything we need. Now the dwarves, as you can see, when they're outmatched like that, most of them died. So they just all charged in and lost straight away. So try and find the secret stash part. Can't remember where it is, so I'll have to explore a little bit. I think I've got everything from here. Make sure I've picked everything up. Might be down this way. There's a ton of stuff down here, so I'm just going to collect all the things that these enemies drop, because again I'll sell those later. Not that we need the money, but whilst it's there for free you might as well have it. And we get Alcest and everything else so that we can continue meditating and everything else. Some crossbow bolts if we did want to be making use of those. We'll find the secret stash and grab the stuff there as well.
Floor is worn by a moving door. Something behind this wall.
Okay, so get this stuff here. And I think you find that it's Radovid who's behind it, if I remember correctly. So grab this stuff and then move on again. So the thing about that's good about using decoctions is they last a really long time. So you can see there that with gourmet the food's lasting 20 minutes and the decoctions already last 30. So even if you're using skill switching, it's just a couple of seconds every half hour or so, or whenever you have to meditate. So if you avoid meditating needlessly, you can have decoctions last for a really long time. And just use them whenever you want, so that's really useful as well. Okay. Now we've got to find Horson Jr.'s hideout. We'll just carry on with this. I'll try and kill these guys again. And just get your... Prioritise the club enemies because they do a ton of damage with the bludgeoning damage that they do. And again, get a ton of damage there. Now, fast attacks, you see I'm using fast attacks the vast majority of the time against these guys. Because they don't have enough armor to be worth using strong attacks against them. And the fast attacks are doing more damage because I have the muscle memory skill. So, just makes combat a little bit quicker most of the time, having muscle memory. Because that's what you're going to use for the majority of easy fights. Right, so now I've just got to follow my way to the remainder of this quest and get all this sorted. And carry on with that. Don't actually remember where you go to be getting to Junior's hideout. I thought it was in Oxenfurt, so I'll have to find out. Let's try and find it anyway. Now these Mandrake Root probably haven't respawned yet, so they'll not be here to grab. But if you fast travel or meditate a lot, then they often will do. It's always worth checking when you come back. Because you use those for a couple of formulas. Not a lot, but just a couple of them. Be very careful grabbing this stuff, because if there's anything around here you want to try and grab, there's usually guards about. So don't do it unless it's particularly worth having. Sometimes there are periods where you don't have any stuff about, so you can grab things. Like there's always Dimeritimor on this corner, but I think I've grabbed that already. I mentioned that in an earlier episode, so always worth looking for different things. And that's the problem, is sometimes you'll get the guards coming at you, so let's just run away from them. And I should be able to avoid them if I just get off the main streets and keep your distance. Obviously, unless you have like an incredible endgame build, you can't avoid these guys. You can't manage to beat these guys, so not going to be able to get in there. And you won't be able to guard against them either, so just run away until you can get out of the way of them. If you can get your distance from all of them, then they should eventually stop chasing you and you should be alright. You can always dodge even if you run out of stamina. So you just dodge until you've got your stamina back and then run away again. Eventually they should leave you alone. Eventually they should get bored. They normally do. You can get out of the way. This one persistent guy is following me, which is very annoying. I'll have to give him the run around and avoid these guys. You can't block their strikes when they're red skull as well, so might just have to get into some water or something else, because they're just not leaving me alone. So 5 or 10 minutes of this just running away. Let's see where I can get away from them. Eventually I'll be able to get a bit of the distance and get away from them, so just got to keep running. They are being particularly persistent. Normally you can get away from them easier than this, but we'll go. There you go. So an unfortunately large amount of that spent running around, and that is why I was saying you don't want to loot things if it's nothing particularly good to grab. But I just got used to there being no guards around there, let my guard down a little bit. Now they're all happy again. So yeah. Should be fine. We can just carry on. Hello. Yeah, they're a pain in the neck, but you can nearly always get away from them. Just maybe get Quen up if you need.
Nothing interesting here.
Get all this stuff. And get through all this stuff. Alright, so get all this stuff, blah blah blah. There we go. Off we go. Yeah, yeah, jackass. Grab all this stuff. Crystallized essence, not particularly rare, but rare enough that it's worth picking up. Sometimes you do need it for things, so.
Dwarves were thorough as debt collectors. Didn't leave a scrap.
What else have we got?
Place has been scrubbed clean.
Okay, so that's everything sorted there. A few other things to pick up. Alchemy paste. Don't think there's anything particularly interesting up here from what I remember, but amethyst dust, saltpeter, always useful. Alchemy and stuff like that. Silver's going to be quite useful in this because in this playthrough, because instead of using it for the Grandmaster gear, which is what you normally use it for, because you can use that to make green gold, or part of green gold anyway. It's silver's necessary for making green gold. I think it's regular gold, green gold, and what else is it? Anyway, you need green gold to make orichalcum. You need orichalcum to enhance your dimeritium ores. You need enriched dimeritium ores to make enriched dimeritium ingots, and so on and so forth. Did a video about that as well, about the best way to craft the Grandmaster gear and to do it as cheaply as possible. So, done everything there. So now the only other things that we're going to do is to speak to Roach and then in turn speak to Radovid. So we'll need to fast travel to do that. So before I leave Novigrad, is there anything here that I really want to do? Could do the Triss quest before I leave and just get that done. And just talk to Cleaver first and get rid of that. Get rid of that particular little quest. Just going to run and do that. So you see Gourmet's already ended, but the decoctions still last because they last 10 minutes longer than Gourmet. But I'm not going to have anything particular I need to do here, so and then carry on. Again, all the guards down here might prevent me from nicking me, so I'll just grab that. Okay. One of the things I've mentioned before that really bugs me is like the only decoction that takes less than 70 points is the Basilisk decoction, which takes 40 points. But why the Werewolf decoction doesn't just take 40 points as well is beyond me. It provides absolutely nothing in combat. It's just for sprinting, running and jumping out of combat. It's pure convenience. So it just makes perfect sense to me that that should have been a 40-point one as well. But for whatever reason they decided not to go with that. Anyway, we're just going to talk to Cleaver and then talk to the King of Beggars. Finish off those two little quests in our quest log. I do like to have everything completed and non-failed if at all possible. So there we go. On we go. So that's Gangs of Novigrad done. And you get a bit of experience, and I believe you get a little reward from him as well. So 300 crowns, not bad. It's a little better than most of the rewards you get from doing contracts, actually. So it's a decent amount of money if you are hurting for money, but oftentimes you shouldn't be. You need to go around the side for this bit. Where's the entrance? It's around this side. And then we can carry on. Inventory's pretty full, so I could have done with getting rid of some stuff because you pick up a lot of weapons to sell from this quest that you're doing with Triss, but if I get overburdened, then I don't know. I can just either use the Fiend Decoction or just leave some of the stuff. I don't really need the stuff at the minute, the money or anything, so not a big problem. And on we go, take all that, blah blah blah. Bit of extra experience, always a good thing. And those two quests being level 9, because I was just within the 5 level limit, I actually got a reasonable amount of experience for those as well, so that's not bad. Right. I've got to meet Triss here. And like I say, I could go with stashing some of my stuff, but not really necessary, so... Now, with the skill switching, it might be necessary for me to put acquired tolerance back on. I hope I get the chance to do that first, so let's go with that. A fun little option there you can choose with the other one, the other option, dialogue option there, but yeah. Alright, so we're just going to carry on here. It does go straight to the quest, so hopefully I get the opportunity to switch my skills around beforehand, otherwise I'll just have to use potions instead, so... Alright, so let's go. Skip through all this bit. Now the choices you make here, you have to let Triss get fully tortured and not ask, and if you don't ask about the treasure, then you can avoid fighting all of the guards afterwards. So that avoids a pretty tricky battle. But if you do that, then if you don't ask about the treasure, then Dijkstra won't be very pleased because you didn't try to find out about it. So you've got two choices there. Which affects various outcomes. I can't remember exactly what it is and that it affects, but we'll have a see. Okay, so skip through all this stuff. Okay. So you got to never choose anything that will try and save Triss here. Otherwise they'll get suspicious and all that kind of stuff, so... Now, can I change my things about at the moment? Yes, I can. Well, that's good. But I can't meditate, which is a problem. So what are my decoctions back? Oh, yeah, I will. Okay, that's okay. Oh, yeah, because I meditated to make it midnight, duh. So get those sorted, and this is how quick skill switching is if you are used to doing it that way. Doesn't take any time at all. So this will take me much less than 20 minutes, so I can just get Gourmet going again with one of the 80 regeneration ones, and then off we go. So we're set up now again. Got the Vitality regeneration, Ancient Lesson decoction, Foglet, and Echidna. And that's my normal setup. And I've got the useful bombs as well. Right, so we've got to carry on for this. They take Trish away from torturing, and again, if you want to follow it through, you got to do all this stuff. Hey Sever, by the way, didn't realise you were there. Beg your pardon. How you doing? Right, so if you say like either of the other options there, then you'll end up having to fight all these guys first and all that kind of stuff. So if we're going to end up fighting them anyway, which we are, then I might as well then you can do all this. You have to have a drink, blah blah blah, silver goblet for Doppler and things like that. Okay, so you got to do all this stuff, blah blah blah. Okay, so witches do anything for gold. You just gotta act like you have no feelings towards Triss whatsoever, and you don't mind that they're torturing her and stuff. She's fine anyway, so it's like, so if you don't do this, then Dijkstra will be unhappy. But if you do it, then you'll have to you'll get into a fight anyway, so you'll have to fight everybody. So that's what we're gonna do, like this. There we go. And then you gotta ask about that. So you ask about the treasure, then you have to fight him anyway. So we're just going to use Axie and the Ancient Lesson decoction again to get our stamina regeneration up. And then we'll have to fight all these guys. Now Axe is useful for this because you can get a bunch of stamina regeneration from Axe. It's even more than Hard Sweep, so while you start off fighting with Minga and you don't need the actual effects of Hard Sweep, you can use Axe a couple of times first, then start using Hard Sweep after that, which is what I'm doing here. And then I'll get Quen up and then just go back to using Hard Sweep, so always fun. I've got this thing in the middle of the room that's causing me problems, but because it's a little difficult to navigate around, and the more you use Hard Sweep, the higher your stamina regeneration gets, so then it becomes easier to keep Quen up and blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. So it's really useful for that. We've got the exploding shield of Quen there as well. And so if they do get a hit in, it's causing more problems for them anyway. Right, so I'm just going to dodge away from this guy, because I want it to remain in the same combat when I come out here for fighting all these guys. And the reason that I want this to be all the same is because then I keep the Ancient Lesson stamina regeneration boost, and that's going to be really useful for fighting these bunch of guys together. So you can see how quick it is now, because we've used it so many times. You can see how high the stamina regeneration is going to be. And so that's 47 a second, which is absolutely massive. So I can use Hard Sweep pretty much whenever I want and still be able to keep Quen up really easily outside of it as well. So it's just such a fun tactic, and it really makes sign use really good, and provides extra safety as well by being able to keep Quen up at the same time, keep them burning, and then if I've got them burning like that, then I can always just keep Quen up afterwards. So very useful. I'm also able to use the signs really often, which is getting me health back from the Echidna. So as long as I can keep Quen up like that, then even if I do take one hit, they don't kill me instantly, even on Deathmatch. So I can take them out like that. It's a really useful way of fighting. And with that extra bit of sign intensity from the Foglet decoction, I can also stop them in their tracks. And then with the normal dodging and everything else, we're absolutely fine. And you can use these barrels too, so just going to use those, dodge out of the way, get Quen back up, and that'll take a bunch of them out as well. And again, you can see why I was so intent on getting the Ancient Lesson decoction. It just makes such a massive difference. And you can burn them as well. You've got Exploding Shield on there. Let's get the Hangman's Venom back up. I really wish that they had an option on the wheel for, you know, like that you could cycle through, instead of cycling through items, you could cycle through oils or something. It make the combat a little more fluid, but it doesn't really matter. So kill these guys, and now we can just cast Igni whenever we want. Get them burning. And by the time they recover from the burning, I'm ready to cast Igni again, because my sign intensity is so high. Sign regeneration and stamina regen is so high. So kill those. And that's almost everybody dead there. Just this one guy who we left in here. And Triss has been trying to deal with him, but we'll just help out. And because I technically came out of combat there, you can see how slow my stamina regeneration is compared to that. We're able to take all those guys out. Annoyingly, when Triss hits them with that fireball, it stops them from burning. No idea how that works, but yeah. So a bunch of stuff to grab in here as well. And we can pick up all this stuff. So, pretty interesting. So, that's how you would deal with that with no armor. But again, these tactics are quite useful if you there's a lot of things you can make use of even in a regular playthrough there. So oh, all this stuff, blah 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 blah. Right, we got all this stuff. And then we just go and speak to Dijkstra. And from what I remember, Dijkstra should be alright with us, because we asked about the treasure and stuff like that. So I think the only difference it really makes is he says he'll give you a few extra guards and a bit of money later on. So it affects a couple of choices like that, but apart from that I can't really remember. It doesn't make a massive difference anyway, so you can make whichever choice you want. Oh, and there's another guy left here. How strange. Try and execute him, just make it go a little quicker, which Axie often helps with. So if you're against a single enemy like that, Axie's a good way to go, because you can often end it a lot quicker like that. One of the things you can do fighting these guys is some of these witch hunters do have dimeritium shackles. Oh, bless me. Dimeritium shackles, which is useful, because I believe they dismantle into glowing ore, and there's a way that you can make glowing ore into dimeritium later in the game. So a few interesting things you can get from doing that. Took the time to kill these guys, so we might as well take the time to loot them as well. Get all that stuff. Again, more dimeritium shackles and things like that. We're not actually that close to being overburdened, so as long as you've got a reasonable amount left, then you should be able to do that. Just gotta find the way out. Which you have to go upstairs for, so I thought if you killed all the guards there might be a way out here, but there isn't, so let's come back up here. Out this side door, and then off we go. Yeah. So Trish starts like laying waste to everything, covering up the evidence and all that kind of stuff. And then we go on from there. So if I remember correctly, as you come out of here, Dijkstra's guard comes and takes you to him. More dwarven spirit and alchemy stuff. So you can just get so much of the alchemist powder and alchemy paste, like I was saying before, if you're looting in Novigrad and things like that. So it's really worth doing. And can make you a ton of money early on, so yeah, really good. I'm just going to go and meet Dijkstra now, and then we're alright. Okay, so depending on what choices you make, this is where you get the little interactions with Dijkstra, and he'll either be happy or not happy and all that kind of stuff. But he knows a lot of it already, which is, you know, Dijkstra's a cool one like that. So, and then you just go through all this stuff. Right. Okay. Okay. Then they'll tell you about far corners and everything else like that. So, right, so a bit more experience there. Slowly making our way towards level 15, which is good because I believe you get another ability slot at level 15, which is useful. And until I decide what I want to do with my skill points, which I haven't really made up my mind yet, I can just forego skill switching and just have... Let me have a look. I can just have various things instead. I can just have acquired tolerance slotted instead all the time. So again, multiple enemies, add sweep, single enemy, Axie, and the echidna decoction and the echidna decoction and gourmet give me loads of health back. So. Don't have to be as careful in combat as you would otherwise. More loot for selling, a little bit of extra crowns. You don't have to do that kind of stuff, but yeah, you might as well. Just got to find the drop box and then go from there. finish this quest off as well.
There must be order.
Now, one of the things I was thinking about doing a little bit later is as soon as I get Poet Under Pressure done, I think I'll go to Toussaint. Because you can get there early, and I'll also redo my skills so that I have Deadly Precision. So it takes 30 points to get to Deadly Precision, then it needs 2 points to get to it, to put into it, so 32 points in total. But I actually have that many points already, so I will redo my skills, and what I'll do is I will... Alright, so we're at 3:23 AM here, so I'll probably have to meditate again, but that's okay, because we've got a ton of food and a ton of decoctions, so that doesn't really matter. So yeah, what I was saying was I'll go to Toussaint, and I think I will respec all of my skills so that I have Deadly Precision, and I'm going to try and get the mutations early using the Deadly Precision method instead, because I'm trying to seek out some interesting challenges and do worthwhile stuff early. I'm avoiding the protective coating Aracast decoction route for now, because I use that in all my playthroughs, and then if you're taking less damage you have to be less careful. That rather defeats the object of a no armor playthrough, really. Because what I'm using instead is I've been utilising a lot of powerful tactics like the Ard Sweep, Ancient Lesson decoction and stuff like that, to avoid damage and use tactics instead of just reducing the damage like I would normally with armour and stuff like that. Just a quick thing, the herbs that are on the side of the buildings are always, virtually always Nostrix. I think it is always Nostrix or Brionia, which you don't really get other places, so if you see things like that, it's a good idea to try and pick them up from there as well. So we're just going to meet this guy in far corners. More Nostrix there. So you shouldn't really ever have to buy Nostrix or anything. You can always just run around these buildings in Novigrad and be able to get a lot of that. So if you ever need Nostrix or something like that, or Brionia for an alchemy recipe, just come around these areas and just run around the buildings and collect them. You can get it from the sides of buildings in Oxenfurt as well. And just get them for free, so you shouldn't really ever have to buy them. And you can use them to make whatever it is that you're trying to make. Classic. So you can see we've got 13,000 crowns and we're pretty much level 15 now. So a ton of good stuff to be using there. It's interesting because I never did a video about using skill switching early in a playthrough. I mentioned that you can do it, but this is you know, a good way of doing it. So yeah. Anyway, get this guy, blah 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 blah. Then you can take his memory or kill him. So yeah. Radovid. Dandelion. Skip through all this stuff, and then you can make whatever choice. Okay. So we got Menge and all that stuff. Yeah. Get rid. Okay, so you can either be caring for Chris or not, for Triss or not, but yeah. Right, okay. So we'll just go with that stuff. And at some point, you'll get a quest for Triss as well.
Yes, girl?
Right, so we've got a little bit of extra experience there, then Triss goes away. Now we got to talk to Priscilla, and that's that, I think, for that quest. We have got Matter of Life and Death as well. That gets us some unique Gwent cards. You can get Dandelion and stuff like that, so it's kind of useful. That's another long-winded mission that I get a bit bored doing, because it's a lot of just talking and pointless crap like that, so... so this is because You know, when I did the quest about the woodland, the woodland creatures one, and ratted her out, her and her gang out, because I wanted to say that it'd make a difference to a choice later, and that's the choice it is. So she will ambush you later, because you said that you wouldn't tell the guards, and then if you choose to tell the guard anyway, she will sort of ambush you later on. So that's quite interesting. Just going to use swallow and everything else there. Okay, so I finished the Count Reuben treasure, and I can just carry on with that. I accidentally used the Thunderbolt twice there, so that's why my toxicity is a little bit high. But I'll be able to make it up. By the time the toxicity drops off, I can just use a swallow again. And that means that I can just use the decoctions later on without having to meditate, so save myself one alkahest. Not that you ever need the alkahest, because I've got so much of it anyway, but you could always make use of the potions if it's just a short fight or something like that, and then make your alcohol go a little bit later by using skill switching and the decoctions after that. So that's an option as well. I might do that actually, just to demonstrate that's another tactic that you can do with acquired tolerance. Because the thing about potions is they don't last very long, but they're extremely strong. They're stronger than most of the decoctions. Some of the decoctions are really pretty useful, like the Ancient Lesson and stuff, if you use them in the correct way. And Wartag decoction, which is a 50% damage boost when you're at full health. So if you're at full health a lot, then that's a really good one, and that's an excellent endgame decoction and is used in a lot of builds. So it's quite interesting. But by and large, the decoctions have interesting things that they do, but they're not as useful as the potions. So stuff like the superior potions are so powerful. They last long enough to last for combat, and they're just excellent. So what else have we got now? We have to go and find Junior, if I remember, and then we've got the Siri quest to do with that. So we need to talk to Roach. Or we've got Matter of Life and Death that we can do with Trist. So now, if you do Matter of Life and Death, then that leads you to Now or Never. And the good thing about Now or Never is that you get a ton of alchemy stuff when you fight, going through the section of the game where you fight drowners and I think it's a Katakan. It's one of the middling vampires anyway. That's interesting too. I need to go and speak to Roach. I'm actually pretty full on my inventory, so I'm just going to use that alcohol. Just make sure I'm fully healed up first. I can sell a bunch of this stuff to this guy again and make sure I'm not overburdened. So yeah, I can either do Matter of Life and Death and get the Gwent cards from that quest and then have Now or Never available, or I can just go and speak to Roach and progress those quests and find Horse and Junior. So I think I'll probably do that first. We'll see. Not sure what these swords... I think one of these will deconstruct into what's the word, dark ingots, dark steel, so I'll just check that first. This will make silver, so I might as well dismantle that. Get some dust and I can sell those later. This will dismantle into into dimeritium ore, so I'm just going to save that until I have a master armor available. None of these really dismantle into anything else interesting, so should be fine there. And I can just sell all this stuff. And then, does this armor make anything good? Hardened leather, I might as well take one of those. And again, a steel ingot. Normally I wouldn't really dismantle armor and stuff like that, because you can get it just from dismantling junk, but it doesn't really matter. I don't need the stuff in this playthrough anyway, because most of that goes towards making armors, so that's not necessary. Then we'll go on with that. So I want to get Poet Under Pressure because I want to try and get to Toussaint early, which should be pretty doable. Because you can shoot Goliath in the eye, and that gets rid of him. So once you've done that, you've got free reign of Toussaint. You don't have to carry on with any of the story quests because, you know, we're not trying to get Corvo Bianco or anything like that. I just want to have Turn and Face the Strange available so I can have a crack at that. And also so that I can... what's the word? Use the perfumery merchant to get the higher level alchemy stuff cheaper, and you can also get 3 of the places of power very easily. Damn, I accidentally sold that sword for Dimeritium. I've been keeping it so long. Oh well, it's only a little bit, so that's not really a big deal. Not worth reloading for or anything like that. I'll get rid of some of this stuff. Never mind. Okay. Go and to Roach. Now, as you can see, that would be a really long way for me to actually go, so I'm just going to fast travel there instead. Now, the only thing that will be a little bit of a problem is that if I do get the mutations, it might make things a little bit easy. So I'll have to think about whether I do that or not. I'll have to give that some thought. Let me know in the comments if you're watching it back on YouTube or anything else, if you think I should use the mutations. I think I will try and get them just for the challenge or to see if it is possible, which it should be. And so that I can see how easy it is with Deadly Precision, comparing it to how you would do it with the Griffin Armour and Griffin Skull techniques and stuff like that. I think that'll be an interesting experiment to try and do, so we'll do that. So we're just going to grab Roach and ride her to Roach. Different Roach. Hello, darling. Come on. This opens up a couple of Gwent quests after you've done a few of these quests as well. Because Roach is one of the people you can play. You can get a card from him. Can't remember exactly what you get from him, like, but you get something. I think it's a decent card. It's not an amazing one. I think it might be Synthesis, actually, which is a 10 strength hero range card for the Scoia'tael deck. So it's useful if you're having a playthrough where you're using that deck, which I have done previously. It's an okay deck. It's an interesting one to play, based around agile cards, and it's good for using weather and then avoiding the agile cards yourself. So that's interesting. A lot of the you get a lot of the Scoia'tael cards from Novigrad, but I mean it's not really worth doing a lot of the time. So you can skip through all this stuff. Blah blah blah. Don't think I can play Roach yet, so. Not that far to ride, so I wonder if Roach actually does ride the whole way there then. I never actually have done that. I usually just fast travel to Oxenfurt afterwards. So it appears you can run with him. How interesting. Oh, learn something new every day. Anyway, yeah, so couple of things I can do here. I wonder if this is one of the fields that has a wraith in it. No, there are people there. Some of these fields you can fight wraiths in, and the night wraith or the noon wraith, they can give you things for the potions like full moon. You need essence from the night wraith. Where's Roach going? Catch him up. Anyway, so we're just going to follow Roach and then do this quest afterwards. That's interesting. I normally do fast travel and then you just meet him instantly. I figured I would just ride over because it wouldn't take much longer, but since I were having to wait for him, actually it probably has taken longer, but never mind. Been here already. That's where we fought the baby wyvern, where the guy was saying it was a basilisk. And then we get to meet the chess player. And then he just teleported there. That's interesting. Oh well. I wonder what happened when you got there actually. So, interesting. On we go. Got to do all this bit, discuss with Radovid, who is quite clearly insane. Okay. Blah 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 blah. Skip through. On we go. Right, anyway, carry on, blah blah blah. Got Radovid and all that stuff. Right, so we go for that, and then you end up owing Radovid a favour, but like, that's interesting. So we go on with that stuff, and then we gotta play Roach as well. I can't remember which quest it is that starts. I think it's Old Pals, but I don't know when you actually get that started so that you can play him in Gwent. Strange, I don't remember that. Pretty sure it is Old Pals, but I can't remember when you actually get to play him. Have to try and remember that later. We have got that big city players as well, but for now I'm just going to do the Whoreson quest while I'm here, and that'll get the little Ciri side quest out of the way, which I really hate. This is one of my least favourite of the Ciri quests. I don't really like any of them, to be honest, but not worth taking any of that stuff while the guards are watching. There's nothing particularly valuable here that I remember, so while this guy's here, I can't remember if I played him before. I think I might have done. I can't remember. Yeah, I think I did. Is that greyed out? It looks greyed out. Ah well, we'll play him anyway. I'm pretty sure I beat him, but never mind. Love that mysterious elf card. You can get that if you go. You have to do a level 24 quest in Skellige and finish all the parts of that to be able to speak to Gremist. But that's fine. So for once I'm actually at a disadvantage with the types of cards I've got, but with him having the monsters deck and me being lucky enough to get that draw, I should be alright. So I'll go try and get him to waste some turns. And I can always use this medic and the decoy to bring him back anyway. So I'll make him waste a bunch of stuff first. And then I'll use the Biting Frost once he's doubled up that combat roll, try and get him to use the leader ability. Now what I think I might do instead is just to use this one, decoy this back and try and get him to use the leader ability, so that if I can do that I'll be able to use Biting Frost and then get rid of all of those because there'll be 2 strength at once. So I'll try that first. And that's absolutely perfect because the AI always does stupid stuff like that. So they've used their most powerful muster card as well. Very strange. Now I'll be able to see what 2 cards they have left. And they had that clear weather as well. They do such weird stuff, the AI sometimes. Just makes absolutely no sense. So he'll clear weather that one. They'll have 16 in total. Or they won't, and then I'll win anyway. Because that'll put my range cards back to full, and then I'll double this. They make such weird decisions, the AI, so As soon as I played that Biting Frost, he should have played the Clear Weather first, and then it might have been a bit trickier, but not complaining. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd beat that guy already, so I'll just get items instead of a new card. But yeah, always good to check. Couldn't really tell if the option was grayed out there or not, so yeah. Not quite the high enough level to be able to equip Acquired Tolerance and not use skill switching just yet, so for now I'll just use them instead. Ah, you need to put Acquired Tolerance back on first. Again, just use those up. Just double check that I'm not taking any damage. If you have any residual potion damage, it can cause it, but my vitality was absolutely maxed there, so no problem. And again, just use skill switching, put a little bit of extra sign intensity on there with Delusion. Then fight these guys. I believe there is another way that you can get into Horseland's hideout, but I can't remember what it is. So, no big deal there. Yeah, yeah.
Well, how long you gonna make me wait?
Kill both of those guys easy enough, and then again we've got another big conflict coming up. So I'll grab all this stuff. Now, I think I do still have the skill for the arrow deflection. I do, which is useful. Because these guys are a pain in the neck. Because there are a lot of archers around here as well. So, yeah, I knew there was one about somewhere, so... Ah, tried to parry it instead of just defending it. Ah. I'll probably just stop trying to deflect those because it is fun, but not strictly necessary. But I never used that arrow deflection skill, so it's a fun one to make use of. I am taking a ton of damage from it, so not the wisest. Should probably at least get my coin up before I do it, but never mind. Get a bit of extra stamina generation there. I can take these guys out easy enough. Sometimes you get the instant kill with that as well. Took him out. I believe this counts as me being in the same combat because of this guy, so... And take these guys out. No problem. I swear there were more enemies around here. There they are. Take these guys out as well. And even if they're charging like that, you can take them out pretty easily. Or stop them with hard sweep and then get the hits in. And again, pretty easy to get them all now that I've got a higher stamina regeneration. I can smack an Erden down just to mix things up a bit, slow them all down, and then be able to easily parry their attacks. Another advantage of Erden slowing them down, and I believe that's everybody dead. Really enjoying this playthrough, you know, using the tactics a little bit differently, and proving that you can do it without the need to be able to tank any hits at all. Although I do find it interesting that even though I'm at level 14 with the upscaling on Deathmatch, you can still survive a hit, which is strange. I'd expect at some point that I'd just start dying in one hit and I have to avoid hits altogether, but... Maybe I used Undying and wasn't paying attention because I could have missed that, I suppose. So a bunch of stuff to grab here again. Loot all this stuff just because I can be selling it afterwards, or putting the bolts in the stash and things like that. You can't sell bolts to anybody other than Hugo in Toussaint, so you have to do Father Knows Worst, and then you have to have done Father Knows Worst and then spared Hugo at the end of it. Chose the options that means that the brothers reconcile. Again, close quarters is sometimes a little dangerous with these, so make sure that we hurt them like that. Causing a ton of damage there. They're all getting funneled in here anyway, so. And he'll just die from the burning, then finish him off after. Right, so loot all that stuff and then we'll have an absolute ton of stuff to sell as well. Need to find where we're going in here. It's interesting because Horson's an absolute clown, but you can choose to kill him or not. I usually choose to spare him because I think it's better for him to live miserably for the rest of his life. Always fun. What the sandwich fuck is this? Yeah, you will.
Pay attention now. I won't lie. Took me a long time to find you. Wasn't an easy road to travel.
I like this dialogue.
Hungry and tired. Had to kill a lot of people along the way. Some of them tried to cheat me.
So
I didn't like it one bit.
I think we've got the Siri quest to do now, if I remember.
Bitter drop in a chalice full of sorrow. And then I'd do something I would later regret. Now you know why you can't lie to me. Yes.
Okay, so now we've got that out of the way, we have to do the Siri things like that, so go through all that stuff. I think this is one of the quests where Siri takes a lot of damage. It seems really random sometimes. There's the one at the end of Novigrad where you have to run away through all the people, and that one she takes a ton of damage, and there's a big fight that you can't avoid as far as I'm aware. I had seen one person do it once. There's a bit where you can climb up at the side, but normally you have to do the actual fight, so I really hate that bit. Although it did give me the idea for a No Armour playthrough for doing that, so let's go through all this stuff. Okay, so on we go. So we've got to go through all this stuff. Let's climb up here with Siri. Which way do we go?
Room on the top floor. One with the balcony.
Okay.
There's the balcony. Let's see what's inside.
Right, so we go in here, then you got to fight a bunch of people. I think you have to fight Horson a little bit as well. I can't remember, so again, lots of dodging. If you need to dodge, you need to get all your health back, then you just got to dodge around for a bit and keep your distance. And he can obviously stun you there a little bit, which is annoying. You can get behind him easy enough with her teleport, and then so there. Shame you can't get an execution on him really and change the whole course of time and the game and everything else by killing him right away, but never mind. So again, you got to kill these guys. So yeah, she takes a reasonable amount of damage, but she does good damage back to them still. So you can get through most of them easy enough. And then just regenerate your health in between, because Ciri's health naturally regenerates. And then get all that back before you take the rest of them out. Because she can get behind people really easily, you can just use that teleport and just keep your guard up the rest of the time. Wait till they swing and then dodge behind them. Yeah, so this quest isn't particularly bad, to be honest. And if she does take any damage, you just recover it before you do the next bit of combat. It recovers pretty quickly, so you don't have to wait very long. And then just do that every time. It's pretty easy with her dodge, I suppose, but it is the other quest that's really tricky, the one at the end of Novigrad. That one's a real pain in the neck. So either I really suck at parrying, or it's a lot harder or not possible to parry with Ciri, but it doesn't really matter because even the shield guys, you can just dodge through them and stuff like that. That's Ciri's mission quickly down, get that out of the way. And then just got the only other Ciri quest that I can remember up until right at the last end of the story is we've got the one at the end of Novigrad, then we've got the ones in Skellige where she escapes and swims and spars and all that kind of stuff, and then escapes the Wild Hunt. That one's kind of annoying. Then you've got the little bits of Kaer Morhen that you play with her, and then you've got the bits at the end when you fight Caranthir and all that, where she's extremely powerful. So by that point, it's not a problem. But I don't like doing them in the first instance. So we've got all this stuff, and then you gotta get rid of all this stuff. Then you can choose whether to kill him or not. I like leaving him to be miserable, actually.
Hey, what?
Worse to live in squalor after he's used to living the high life. That's that all done. That's level 15, and what that means is that I have another ability point, so I don't have to skill switch anymore. I can just use use potions when I want for some earlier fights, and then use decoctions after that, and wait until they run out as well. Mix it up a little bit. Now I maybe have to go and see Radovid, I think, where he calls on his favour.
No.
And you've got the quest for doing with Philippa and stuff like that. I think those are relatively short little quests, so that's not such a bad one to do either. Might see if I can play Gwent against Roach. I can't remember how you start that quest. I might have to refresh my memory, look that up later. But it only gets you Scoia'tael cards really, so it's not a big deal. We'll go and get the Ciri card. Add that to all 4 of my decks. Not that I'll be using Scoia'tael or monsters on this. I only tend to do those on playthroughs where you can just go right through them. It's quite interesting actually. You can use any of the Gwent decks if you go about things in the right order, especially on New Game Plus where you can skip the certain things. But Northern Realms obviously is extremely obvious how you use that. It's the best starting deck. You get all the cards relatively early, and all of the early Gwent cards get you either Nilfgaard cards or Northern Realms ones. So if you know where you're going, you can get all of the ones that aren't random, random wins. And if you watch my early Gwent deck video, you can see how you build a really strong Northern Realms deck early, so that's really easy. Nilfgaard, if you actually look at the list of the deck, the only things that are random and might cause a problem are the three spy cards that are a massive part of that deck. Are all random wins, but if you got those early enough, then the rest of them, the rest of the ones that you actually need, aren't random wins, so you can buy all of the rest of them from places like the Clay Witch Merchant. You get a lot of them from Lindenvale and stuff like that. So if you got the 3 spies, or a couple of the spies relatively early, you could have almost a full Nilfgaard deck right away, apart from Relentless. And if you did high stakes early and got Relentless, you could have a full Nilfgaard deck. So that's what I'm going to be planning on doing on another playthrough. I fancy trying that out as well. Because I love the Nilfgaard deck. It's about as strong as the Northern Realms deck. They're probably 1 and 1A in some order. But yeah, that'll be a fun one to do. I've already done a Scoia'tael playthrough and a Monsters playthrough where I used the Scoia'tael ones. I went to Novigrad first and got all of those cards there, and then the other one. Let me just go and get the Ciri card first. The other one, the monster deck playthrough, I used the same tactics I did in my getting to Skellige early video. And I got all of the monster cards from Skellige, did the first round of Skellige quests as well, so that I could unlock the Skellige Gwent quests, and had a full monster deck and used that pretty much the whole game. So that was really interesting too. That's a lot of fun, but a fair amount of the decent monster cards are random rewards as well. Like I believe one of the Crones is a random win. And they're one of the most powerful set of those, and the vampires are the highest scoring set of muster cards. They total 19 and 18 respectively, so it's 3 6s for the Crones, and the vampires are 4 4s and a 5. And they're extremely powerful because if you think about it, really, you only need one of those in your deck at any one time to be able to sort of summon the rest, and that means that. Those one card, assuming you don't have any others in your deck and you get the right pulls and swaps at the start and stuff like that, those cards are effectively 19 and 18 for just one card, which is very powerful, especially because you can double them up. Then the trade-off of that with the monster deck is that it's very susceptible to Scorch and to Biting Frost because of that. So it's good to have clear weather. And the leader abilities thing is really interesting as well for that, because it has a bunch of good leader abilities, but none quite as powerful as Nilfgaard. Because Nilfgaard's Relentless is probably the best leader ability out of any of them. Although the siege ones from Northern Realms can be very, very good depending on what deck you're playing against as well. So we have met this guy already, but I don't remember where or anything like that. But you can play him for Gwent and get Ciri's card, so we'll do that too. And we'll try and get Ciri from him. So I didn't get any spies, that's going to make it a little bit trickier. And I only got the one medic as well. But he's going to give me that round pretty much for free, so that's interesting. He's got a Scorch, he'll probably play it now. Ah, he just plays that instead. That's interesting. I'll see what else he plays, because I may get to Scorch later on. Play the cow back just in case for next round. Have a look at some of the cards he's got left. So he's got Torrential Rain, he's got Ciri, which is going to be a little bit tricky, and he's got the Elven Skirmisher. So it depends how many of these it pulls in, really. I'll try and get him to use the Torrential Rain. And I can save that 10-point card for a subsequent round if needed. Remove some of that score there. If he's got a medic, he'll probably bring that one back, and the Scoia'tael deck does have quite a few medics, so... See what other cards he's got. So there he's going to play the Torrential Rain. I can save that and score 70 points in the 20 points in the next round if I need. Or I can just double up on the 10 there and make them play a card now. It's unlikely that he's got 2 Torrential Rain. I'll just double this up first, and then if he's got a Scorch, he can use that. He'd have to use one more card. He's used the Ciri there, so that's very useful. So he'll just have one card in the next round. If that Scorch, it'll do no good. And I start off with that 8 there, so So it was a Scorch that he had, but I would have won in either case there, because even if I just passed now, I would win at 0-0. So Nilfgaard always wins ties, so managed to win that. I like the Nilfgaard deck for that, because it has interesting tactics for things like that you can use, so it's fun to play. We'll just add those to the decks. Okay, so I've won an awful lot of the monster cards as random wins, which is interesting. But a lot of them are slightly weaker cards. Not really worth using. And until you go to Skellige, I have actually been to Skellige, but I didn't buy all of the cards, so you can get a couple of the Aracast cards and stuff like that as well. But I haven't bought those yet. So the monster deck would be usable if I wanted to use it to mix things up. I'm okay for now. So we get the Francesca Finderbar leader there, which is a good one. I think that's the third leader card, which doubles the range, the power of range cards. It's auto commander's horn for 1 round there, so that's useful as well. Just going to ride away from this stuff. Right, so we've got Destination Skellige like that, or I could go and talk to Roach, or I could go and do Please the Thing. So I think I'll talk to Roach first. Oh, where is Roach? I know where he is, but I'm trying to remember which. There it is. Can't remember how you actually speak to him. How you actually play Gwent against him, which is weird. I'll go and see if he'll play Gwent first. It might be after you finish certain quests that it starts. I'll do Plays the Thing first. We can quickly do this and then follow that. Just going to run through and do Plays the Thing. This is another one of the quests that I'm really not keen on, to be perfectly honest. But should be able to do it relatively quickly at least, so we'll get it out of the way. Who am I speaking to? Priscilla, where's she? Where is she actually? Is she at the Passiflora? No, she's at the Kingfisher. Right, okay. Not sure that this is actually the quickest way to the Kingfisher, but I'm just following the thing on the map. I think it's quicker to go through Novigrad Square and across there, but never mind. Actually taking me longer to go around this way, but I normally go around the other way because then you go past the Novigrad Square and the armor and stuff, but she might not actually be at the Kingfisher if it's taking me this way. Yeah, it always does tend to take you around the back of Novigrad Square, whereas I could have just carried up the other way there, so I couldn't remember exactly where she was. It doesn't make a massive difference. Yeah, she's in the Kingfisher, so just go this way. In fact, I might just sell some junk to Olivia while he's still here, because again, he gives decent prices. Might not be going back to Skellige anytime soon, particularly, so I'll have a look.
What do you say?
Get rid of some of this stuff. Selling all that alcohol because I never use that to heal up, because with Gourmet then the drunk effect would last as long as everything else, so I did debate doing that, but I just thought it'd be no fun to watch because it's just messy. It would be funny, but it would still be possible, and it would make things harder, but it just make things more difficult in a annoying way instead of an actually challenging way. So get rid of all this junk. Normally I would dismantle some of this stuff and use it for making armors and things like that, because you get a lot of good stuff from that, but not really necessary here because I'm not making any armors. So keep the shells, obviously. Always dismantle seashells and shells, and I believe he will take the fist tech as well for a reasonable price, so 6 each, so get a small chunk there as well. And everything that's silver or dimeritium will just keep. So speak to Priscilla and got to do plays the thing. There are certain options that you do in plays the thing that work out a little better. Like if you do a comedy, if you do it as a comedy. I'll have a look. So now we need to convince him to come out of hiding and doing all this stuff. Do and all these things. So just going to skip through. You got to put a play together and stuff like that. Right, so we're going to do all this, and you got to go through all this stuff, blah blah blah. Right, so we've got to go through all that. Okay.
Of course. I've 2 really good ones.
Right, so we'll go with that. If you go with a comedy, I believe you get more money as well, which I always thought was a little bit weird. But then again, comedies are, you know, good fun. So you got to do this. There are optional things you can do as well. So she writes all this, and then you got to sort all this out. Now this is why the Novigrad quest on replays kind of annoy me a little bit, because it's just so much run and fetch and talk to stuff, and that's about it. Have I spoke to this guy to haggle about the contract yet? Nope. I'll just do that while I'm here. We go through this stuff. Skip through that. We got all the problem with the house and all this kind of stuff. And again, this is what I was saying. I said in an earlier episode. This is to fight the Earth Elemental Therazane, but I'm not going to go and do that early like the Ancient Leshen one, because the Earth Elemental decoction isn't one that's particularly useful, and you don't get anything else other particularly useful. The ones that I would consider doing early, and do try to do early if I'm doing a deathmatch playthrough where I always want to be as strong as possible, or if I want a particular thing like I did here, is to do the, what's the word? Seriously, what's the word? What am I trying to say, people? Is to do the Ancient Leshen one, or the other one. What's the other one called? The Arakas decoction, because that's my favourite decoction. Just so powerful. A straight 15% onto all of your resistances, and it's an additive bonus, which is just incredible for the way that the game calculates the damage, especially on top of protective coating. Like, you could make a defensive feline build with Arakas and protective coating and still greatly reduce the damage there, even though it's not a defensive build at all. So yeah, it's crazy good. Crazy good. So we're just going to go through all that stuff. Go through this, so skip all this, blah 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 blah. And go with all this stuff. So skipping through all the dialogue, grabbing all the stuff and all this boring. So we skip through, go through all this stuff and like that. Want to get the ushers and the publicity, because you get more money for doing it. So if you're going to have to do it anyway, you might as well take the bit of time to do it. Loot all the stuff in here as usual. She doesn't need it, she's fine. She's going to make loads of money off this anyway, so. Right, so just grab all this stuff. Keep that perfume for something in Toussaint a little bit later. You can get some extra clothes as well. And then we go on. So, carrying on with this, loot all the stuff upstairs, and then I'll go and do this quick little run and fetch quest. Again, if you're skipping through stuff, then I don't I suppose I don't mind them too much, but these run and fetch quests, they do get like a little bit grating after a while, so not my favourite part of the game. But I could make it go quicker by just not looting stuff, because I'm not finding anything particularly useful here, but I'm just so obsessive with looting things that that's not really an option for me, unfortunately. Well, it could be, but I just like to see what's going on, and especially when you get stuff like emerald dust on random things like that, you can't tell when something's going to be useful, so always good to get that. You might always get alkahest, and that lets you sell your dwarven spirit and get more money, and just a bunch of stuff like that. So, but sometimes you get useless stuff like vials and all that crap. So I'll get all this and do that as well. All this talking's giving me a sore throat. Excuse me for one moment.
Wind's howling.
Yes, Geralt. Yes, it is. Sure. Why not? Wind's howling. Grab all this stuff. We've got a fair few books as well, so next time on Novigrad Square I'll sell all that too. We can grab all this. Managed to get myself stuck, almost. Couple of rune stones and stuff like that, which can always be sold. This door might not open because it only opens when you do a certain other part of the quest. So, although that might make a problem if I can't get back up here. Huh, didn't realise that. He might be stuck now. Or maybe I can climb up here. Ah, yeah, we're okay. Yeah, normally you'd have gone through that bit if you did the quest to follow the person instead of speaking. When you're looking for the King of Beggars and getting the password, you can go through that way instead. So, just go. I can just use all the stuff I've got in my inventory. And use the potions first, and then when the toxicity from that dies off, I can just, or I've used up all those potions, I can use the decoctions instead. So I'll always have one of the either enhanced Tonial potion or the the ancient lesson decoction available. That'll be good. So go through that, finish all these guys off, and then save the elves. Just get rid of that. Okay, so get rid of the elves. Looted everything in here already because I did mention I'd nipped in. Although I missed these in the corner, so good job I checked again. Maybe it wasn't here then. No, it wasn't here. It was a very similar dwelling, so I wasn't 100% sure about that place I looted before, but I thought it was this place, but it wasn't. So grab all this stuff. Bit of extra dimeritium, always good. Wondering what was happening if you actually attack them first. I thought that'd be interesting, but okay. Get a bit of extra experience that way as well. Save 50 crowns. Not that that's any difference at all, but I can just use my potions here as well. Let them burn and get poisoned at the same time. So that's them gone. Easy. So use Gwen to get rid of the poisoning that I'd inflicted on myself there. Get that extra bit of experience. And Golmi will just heal me as I run about. So either decoction use or potion use is, viable with the enormous toxicity boost that you get from acquired tolerance. It's only 3 points. It's one of the absolute best skills in the game. It just makes such a massive difference. There's so much good stuff you can do with alchemy. Just so useful, and it's a fun mechanic as well. I enjoy, you know, making use out of the things. I always loot things obsessively, like I say anyway, so I loot pretty much everything. So as long as you know the rarer stuff that you're looking for and where to get it, then you can always manage to have the alchemy stuff for things you want to make. And if you go to Toussaint early, you can even get the superior stuff on the cheap, because you can buy things like Rebus and Vermilion and those high level alchemy ingredients, instead of having to spend a buttload of money on the ingredients to make white gull, and then having to use 1 white gull for each of the potions and 1 white gull to make the high level alchemy ingredients. So you'd need 2 at least for each of the superior potions, bombs and all that stuff. So you can save yourself a fair amount of money there if you have Blood and Wine by going to Toussaint early. So do love the alchemy, it's a really good aspect of the game, one of the things I do like using a lot. So a bunch of stuff to grab down here, and don't appear to be any guards about, so I might as well grab them. Can't all be winners, but you know, never mind. Now you can save yourself some money here and beat these guys in a fist fight, but I'll be perfectly honest, I have so much money and I really hate doing the fist fights, especially on deathmatch. They're not difficult, they're just boring, like really rubbish. So just gonna skip that bit. Grab all this stuff down here. The shells are extremely valuable, like I keep saying. You can dismantle those and get really good stuff from that. So the rest of it's like useless junk, but every once in a while you get something good, like that Dimeritium ore. And you can always sell the alchemy paste and other stuff you get. So okay, so job as ushers, blah blah blah, pay them first. Right, get rid of that. Save myself the time as well. It's quick and painless. And we've got to run the 300 yards back. I could fast travel, but not really worth it. Runestones there. Again, could either use them later or sell them. Do I want to fast travel back to the square? No. Don't want to just be sat around looking at loading screens pointlessly, even if it would save a small amount of time. I can loot all this stuff on the way back, even if none of it's particularly useful. Every little bit helps. I can always sell this stuff as well, as I have been doing. Right, so going to carry on. Head back to Irina and then put on the play. You have to memorize a couple of lines, but I'll just give them a quick look over. They actually give you a script to read, so I'm sure I can remember what they are. And if not, it doesn't make a big difference. I think you might just end up getting in a fight at the end of it and get less money. But for everyone you get right, you get every option that you get right in the play, you get more money for it. And if it's a comedy, then you get more money overall as well. So that's useful. Tends to be the reason I always come by the Novigrad Square way, is that if these guys are here, then I can repair my stuff and sell other things and just generally get rid. If you wanted to make more money, then obviously you can save all of your stuff and sell it in Toussaint, where they give better prices. But again, I don't really need the money in this, because it's not like I'm trying to get the money for stuff late game like the Grandmaster Armourer, and I'll easily be able to afford the room right before I get there. So sell all these swords and things like this. Again, the axes and the bludgeoning equipment and stuff like that, you do get marginally more for actually selling to the armourer, but not really necessary. Feel like dismantling some stuff, not that I really need the crafting ingredients particularly, but I tend to have like a bit of a balance. If I'm crafting armour, I would have been dismantling a lot more stuff, but instead I've been selling most of it in this playthrough. So let's have a backup shirt ready as well. And then carry on. There is another blacksmith in Novigrad. I believe he's just an amateur though, He's somewhere around the back at the top left side of the square. Where's the play? Here we go. Don't know why it was trying to send me around the other way. Back off. Yeah. Speak to her, just refresh my memory of what my lines are and stuff, and then we'll go from that. And get the play out of the way, and that'll be the end of another episode, I think. I will call it there. Okay. Go through it like that. So you end up playing the richer, blah 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 blah. Skip through that, just got a couple of lines to remember. I'm not sure if it makes a difference saying this, but you always get a cut of the profits anyway, I think. And then you have to pick which actors, so I always just go with her playing the princess and the solid guy instead of the flamboyant drunk dude. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go with that. This stuff. To slay beast most foul, perhaps midst the guests, seems men's hearts. Let's try that then.
There you are.
You any closer to being ready for this premiere?
Halberdier number 2's in the props room, correct?
Right, okay, so we've got to do this, get rid of the... And like I say, I don't think it particularly matters if you mess stuff up, because this is a, you know, quest, main quest, so it's not like it causes a big deal, but you do get more money if you do it as a comedy and if you get the quests, the choices correct, as I remember it. So again, I suppose it's a relatively interesting scene. It's very well done. Every quest in the game is pretty much well done. So, but for this, I just want to be skipping through. I don't want to be watching through all this stuff again. It takes a while, so just going to skip through until I get to my lines and do those and get all that sorted. So skip through, blah 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 blah. Get through all this stuff like that. So just go through that first. Get through all this stuff as well. Go blah blah blah. Skip through Act 1. And then it's perhaps midst the guests. Yeah. Skip through all that as well. Get through all this. Now, what's the next one here? Seems men's hearts. Yeah. And then what's the last one? But a lack of morals. I think it's a base heart with the knaves thing. Yeah. And then the last one, which one is it? Yeah, no monster is here. I think that's the last one. So I'm pretty sure those are all right, but even if they're wrong, it doesn't really make a big difference. I know we can get those sorted. Get all that through, and if you do it that way, I think it avoids you having to have a fight at the end, so that's one pointless fight saved. You don't really get anything good from them dropping. Get a ton of experience there, and you get doo-doo and all that kind of stuff as well. Alright, so we skip through all this. And get through all this, doo-doo turns up, and then we got to get him to do Poet Under Pressure. I might just do Poet Under Pressure as well, so let's have a look. Okay. All that stuff as well. Menga's dead, blah blah blah. And then we got Poet Under Pressure as well, so. Right, let's have a look. Okay. Skip through all this stuff, and then you have to go and ask Dijkstra for doing that. So, right, so I'll talk to Dijkstra first, and then I think I'll call that the end of the episode. So let's have a look.
You were marvelous. Not a single mistake.
Oh yeah, good. So you get that stuff. Puffin's got the word out, blah blah blah, and you get all of the extra stuff there. So always useful. A bit of extra coin and a tiny bit of experience as well. I don't think it's a lot, but it's a little bit. That should be level 16 as well from what I'm seeing there. Just leveled up. That means that I have another mutagen slot as well. So what have I got to put there? Now, I could either get a greater green mutagen if I wanted. Get a bit of extra health. Doesn't really add a lot though. I could put a wyvern mutagen there or something like that. Get that bit of extra damage. I'll just do that for now. The health doesn't really make a difference on Deathmatch anyway, really. Well, let's have a look. If I was to combine a greater green out of the ones I've got, make 3 greens first. And then put the greater green there. So instead of losing, instead of 5%, I would get 300 vitality, which isn't really a lot. I think that I've got 4,960 there. Sometimes they're a bit weird, those actually. So that was 4,960. I swear sometimes it doesn't add the bonuses up properly. So take 300 off. It should be 4,660. So what am I actually at? Oh yeah, no, that's fine. But anyway, 300, not really that much. It's only with 1 green skill to boost it, so I'll just stick with the extra 5% of damage. And there's the level up, 9 points available, so we've got plenty there as well. I'll just stick with what I've got for convenience at the moment. I could use other stuff, but again, I don't really want to decide just yet if I go into alchemy or something else. So what could I do if I was wanting to? Could go with precise blows or fleet-footed, but I'm not taking much damage as it is, and I've not been dodging too much, to be perfectly honest. The advantage of doing that is that I could get down to razor focus, and that is really useful because that starts you off in the adrenaline point automatically, so I may do that. Fire stream and active shield are both useful. I could use active shield instead of gourmet, and that can be a quite useful one. But there's none of the later sign things that I really want instead, so I'm not that bothered about those. If I go down the alchemy route, that's just going to make it just like my other playthroughs. Frenzy would be useful, poison blades would be very useful as well. But protective coating, tissue transmutation, endure pain, any of those, these two particularly, are what I would normally use on a playthrough. And the advantage would be that you can get to synergy and fast metabolism, so I could do that. But again, reducing the damage would be extremely useful, but it's kind of like, I don't know, is it really in the spirit of a No Armour playthrough to just reduce the damage with protective coating and the Aracas decoction anyway? Not much point having protective coating, even though that 25% by itself is a fairly reasonable boost. It wouldn't make much of a difference to the number of hits you could take, unless I was going to put it with the Aracas and maybe the Griffin decoctions as well. Tank build with No Armour would be funny, but that's a lot of points to dedicate towards, you know, slots that you could maybe have better by using other defensive options to just avoid damage instead, like active shield. So interesting. So talk to Dijkstra. He will actually help out. So okay. There we go. So we've done that. See if we get any extra experience for that. You might get a little bit, but no. Oh well, never mind. Just follow that through, and then we got to meet Zoltan. What I may do is just fast travel and speak to Roach and see if I can. I'll be fast traveling anyway, so I'll fast travel, speak to Roach, and see if he'll play Gwent, and then if not, I will just fast travel to where I need to go for the quest. So I'm just going to leave it there. I'll just make sure that it auto saves and everything else. If you have watched this whole thing and you're still with me, then thank you very much for watching the episode. Hope you're enjoying the playthrough. I certainly am. And if you're on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe for more videos. Help my channel out. So thank you very much, and you all have a good day on the path.